Last week, Dimsy and I presented the first edition of the best and worst of Dragon Ball Super as we gave you our 3 favorite Dragon Ball Super Battle of Gods arc episodes. Well, this week we're going to flip the coin and give you the 3 worst episodes, at least in our opinion, of Dragon Ball Super's Battle of Gods arc. Remember to subscribe and be sure to follow me on Twitter at Emperor Big D. So last week, like I said, we gave our 3 favorites. This week, we're going to give our 3 worst, and what we think are our 3 worst. A lot of people, Dimsy, wrote off the Battle of Gods arc as not being very good, but I think there is a lot of good, but there's a lot of bad too. So please tell us and share with us, what is your number 3 worst episode of the Battle of Gods arc?
So my 3rd worst episode for this arc is episode 8. Goku steps up, the last chance from Beerus-sama. Simply put, it was a deleted 90-second segment from the movie which was turned into an episode. This episode is padding personified. The Pilaf gang made their insignificant appearance to top it off, and it was a very, very poor episode. And people are thinking at that point, hey, what's the point of even watching this arc? This arc is starting to drag, and that was the epitome of it dragging.
I'm with you, bro. It did kind of bug me that they actually took the deleted scene. And it's funny because I thought that the scene from the extended cut of Battle of Gods with Oolong was good in the movie, but to make a whole episode of it, I was bored.
I think it's just the fact that it followed after Vegeta's mutation. You'd think, okay, they might give a bit more time to Vegeta vs. Beerus, but he was written off so early on in the episode, and then we just had that absolute crap for the rest of the episode, and it was very much a stinker.
Yeah, I was not a big fan. Now, my number 3 worst episode of Dragon Ball Super is episode 12, The Universe Crumbles, Clash, God of Destruction versus Super Saiyan God. The reason I didn't like this episode, and here's the thing, a lot of people like this episode, so I might get some crabby folks who might be upset at me for picking it. I thought this episode was following an incredible episode 11. I thought that it was very problematic for a few reasons. Number one, the Goku and Beerus fighting in space, cracking the universe or the galaxy, has really led to a major power scaling problem because we've seen stronger warriors and bigger fighters since then not even come close to doing this. And I know that Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z, well, mostly Dragon Ball Z, had problems with this, but I felt like this episode has caused such an issue in the community, and I think you could have done without it. I think, the idea of them fighting to where the whole universe is cracking sounds like a cool idea in theory, but that's something you save for the big finale of the entire series. You don't do it at the beginning of the series in the first major fight, especially when you know that when Golden Frieza shows up and, there's higher levels of god power that you can't redo it. Like, you know what I mean? I thought it's caused a major problem in the fandom. I also feel that the scene where Goku and Beerus are in space and their anger forms into 2 dragons was so cringy. I mean, it reminded me of the worst of Mortal Kombat Annihilation. It was just really bad. And there were good animation moments. I just felt like this, to me, was without a doubt the weakest episode of this entire fight. It was just fist bump, fist bump, fist bump, fist bump, fist bump the entire episode. It just did nothing for me. I just don't like this episode. I wish they would have just skipped to the next one, honestly.
They could have easily omitted this episode or just... As I said, the thing with Super, and I complimented and I praised them for doing a lot of spot fests in the last video, they overdid it with this. Episode 11 was such a phenomenal episode. Of course, episode 12 has big boots to fill. It didn't even fill a quarter of it. It was useless and unnecessary. Simple as that.
I agree. It was just, they could have just done it better and differently. So what is your number 2 worst episode of Dragon Ball Super?
So that's going to be episode 5, Showdown on Kai's planet, Goku vs. the God of Destruction, Beerus. Now you're thinking, wait, this is the worst episode ever. What the hell's going on? No, let me tell you why. Yes, animation was horrible. This episode opened my eyes, personally opened my eyes to the animation flaw. Hey, look, I'm no animation expert, but it was that episode which kind of opened my eyes to it. And the choreography was horrible. Hey, I'm not really... why is this my second worst? Well, it was the launching point for the negativity, and I think that due to, as it was justified, the criticism it got, it was it was
Overblown?
people,
It was overblown?
over exaggerated. Yes,
Yeah.
it was bad, but at the same time, people were saying, "Oh my God, Dragon Ball Super is the worst thing ever," and all that crap. The thing is, it was a poor episode. There's no denying that. But believe it or not, there's a worse episode in Dragon Ball Super of the Battle of Gods arc, in my opinion. So, what do you think about episode 5?
Well, we're gonna get to that one actually soon because that's actually my one of my picks. But I agree with everything you said. I have more to add in a moment. My next pick is actually the one that you picked before, which is Dragon Ball Super Episode 8. Which episode 8 was Goku steps up, the last chance from Beerus-sama. Yeah, the rock paper scissors thing was just boring. Vegeta's moment at the beginning and was fine. Like seeing him do the Gala gun was cool, but the rock paper scissors ate up too much time. And Goku arriving and then playing that horrible Sumitomo song, that just
It didn't fit.
no, it didn't. Oh, I just have bad vibes when I think about that episode. But I to your point, I mean, you made most of the points correct. It's just drawn out, dragged out. I feel like if they would have spent more time developing Beerus or developing Vegeta or developing Pilaf, more importantly, I think that it would have been time better spent than this kind of rock, paper, scissors crap. So what's your number one worst episode of the arc? Because it's not episode 5 according to you.
Yeah, the worst episode in this arc is the episode before episode 5. It was episode 4, Aim for the Dragon Balls, the Pilaf Gang's great strategy. Now, to any fan, you look at this and you're thinking, oh my god, the Pilaf Gang are back. But the thing is, the Pilaf Gang amounted to nothing. It was the first truly padded out episode, whereas the pacing was excruciatingly slow, and I believe this was the first major plot hole since the youth was not explained. If you were to have this episode, you could have put a 20-second, 30-second little clip explaining why they're so small. So that's the first time we're thinking, hey, they kind of explained in the movie, why haven't you explained it in the series where you have more time? And that kind of bugged me.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, because that's the thing. We've said how there's been a lot of talking points and power scaling issues and plot points from Dragon Ball Super, but this was my first one. Of course, you have Goten and Trunks' height, but for me, this was the most alarming one. And Goku's training sequence was just horrible. For some reason, and I said this earlier in the last video, the Kamehameha he displayed in this episode and in the early episodes of Dragon Ball Super was pretty much a enlarged Hadouken, and it was shit. It looked horrible. It wasn't the build-up from this episode that makes us anticipate Beerus and Goku. You're thinking, oh, this training is going to make us anticipate the next action episode, which is going to be episode 5, because it was touted. Episode 5 was touted to be the first action episode, but the thing is, this had such a crap building up, a build-up. Honestly, you wouldn't be surprised how shit episode 5 was. This was a horrible episode. It failed on every single point and regard, and the lack of build-up, the horrible pacing, which was, it was shaking us out of the honeymoon period. The nostalgia glazing was getting far thinner, and now we're thinking, hey, this is 2015.
Yeah,
what the hell's going on?
And you're right in that they introduced the Pilaf gang, and in the TV version they wrote off the Pilaf, the My Trunks thing from the movie, and then all of a sudden the Trunks arc comes around, and it's like, oh crap, we should have kept it in because it applies now. They were making some bad decisions back then.
Well, to their credit, did they really know about the Trunks arc at that point?
Doesn't matter, man. Don't change the movie. Keep it to how it was in the movie, man. It's always been my thought. So my number one is episode 5. I mean, and I'll tell you why. All right. Again, it's infamous at this point. Showdown on Kalo's Planet, Goku versus God Destruction Beerus. I think the problem with this episode, bro, is not just the animation, but this episode pretty much created this whole super backlash where this, people took animation screenshots and put it in like news articles, and Super got a really bad reputation. Even though the animation up until this point was okay, I feel like Toei, even though, again, it's not all Toei's fault, the fan base needs to get over it and move on. There's some fans who are still complaining about this episode. There are some fans who refuse to watch Super because they saw clips of this episode and thought that the whole thing was like that, which really irritates me. But I blame Toei because they should have known that this was, like you said, the first major fight in Super. They should have known that it was going to end up being, hyped up, and people were curious about how it was going to turn out versus the movie. And the fact that they didn't put money into it or didn't really know that or become aware of that is really, really, really just it's stupid. It's very, very bad. It cost them, I think. It cost us as fans. I just feel like they should have put more money in and really put focus on it. They could have just shown the clip from the movie, dude, and it would have been fine.
Exactly, but the thing is, the backlash from the fans, it got Toriyama's attention, and heck, there was, people confronted Toei about this, and
well, Toriyama had complained to them about it too, yes, but I don't know if it was from the fans. I think it was just Toriyama himself seeing it.
Of course,
yes.
And the thing is, there's that sense of it being overblown, because most of the people that were watching Dragon Ball Super who were very vocal were the older fans. The kids who were watching Dragon Ball Kai, I don't know, I can't speak for them, but my point is, the vocal fans were the more nostalgic fans, and I think Toei were kind of preying on the nostalgia side of things, and it just backfired on them. But episode 4 for me was just that much more worse.
They got caught slipping, bro. That's all I can say. I guess most people probably thought that. So let us know, of course, your 3 least favorite or whatever worst episodes of Dragon Ball Super: The Battle of Gods arc. Next week, Dimsy will return as we do Resurrection F, the 3 best and the 3 worst. I will talk to you guys then, and of course, check out Dimsy's domain. You got the link down below.